Before we start, I want to say that only 1% of you are subscribed. Please subscribe because at 1,000 subscribers, I will post a special video for you.
The jungle moon of Victoria was alive with the hum of alien wildlife, its bioluminescent plants casting eerie shadows against the tangled canopy. Beneath the shifting lights, Dr. Amelia Grant crouched low, her boots sinking slightly into the soft, moss-covered ground. Ahead of her, nestled in a hollowed-out tree, lay the den of the most feared predator in this region, the cryx. The cryx were legends, even among the most seasoned xenobiologists. Massive six-legged predators with sleek black fur that shimmered like liquid night, they were apex hunters on a world teeming with danger. Their claws could shred steel, and their eyes, glowing predatory slits of yellow, had been known to paralyze prey with fear. Yet here Amelia was, barely 3 meters away from an entire pack. "Dr. Grant, are you seriously approaching that thing?" came the crackling voice of Captain Reyes through her earpiece. The annoyance in his tone barely masked his concern. "I'm not just approaching them, Captain," Amelia replied softly, her voice calm and measured. "I'm about to walk right into their den." Reyes let out a low whistle. "Do you have a death wish, or are you just trying to prove the rumors about you are true?" Amelia smirked as she reached for a vial of synthesized serum in her pouch. "Neither. I'm proving the cryx are more than the galaxy gives them credit for. They're not mindless beasts, they're parents. And right now, their cubs are sick." Ahead of her, the cryx pack stirred. 3 adults stood guard, their massive bodies coiled with tension. The largest of the 3 growled low, its fur bristling, as Amelia took another step closer. "Shh," she murmured, keeping her hands visible and her movements deliberate. "It's okay. I'm here to help." The adults didn't charge, but they didn't back down either. Their glowing eyes followed her every move as she approached the nest, where 5 cubs lay huddled together, their pale gray fur a stark contrast to the adults' inky black. The cubs' breaths were shallow, their tiny bodies shivering. The fungal parasite plaguing the cryx had hit them hardest. Reyes's voice returned in her ear. "If those parents decide you're a threat, they'll tear you apart before you can blink." "They won't," Amelia said with quiet confidence. "Predators may be fearsome, but they're not stupid. They know when someone is trying to help." Carefully, Amelia knelt beside the cubs. The largest adult stepped closer, its growl deepening. Amelia froze, meeting its gaze. "It's okay," she said softly. "I won't hurt them." The cryx tilted its massive head, sniffing the air, then let out a low rumble. It was as if it understood. Amelia worked quickly, injecting the serum into each cub. Their trembling lessened almost immediately, their breaths growing steadier. She reached out to touch one, her fingers brushing against its soft fur. The cub let out a faint chirp and leaned into her hand. "Unbelievable," Reyes muttered, watching through the ship's external cameras. "It's instinct," Amelia replied, smiling as she stroked the cub. "Even predators understand care. Humans have always had a way of connecting with life forms others fear. Yeah, well, let's hope they keep trusting you. I'd rather not scrape you off their claws." As Amelia finished treating the cubs, one of the adult cryx moved closer. It was the largest, clearly the alpha. It lowered its massive head, its glowing eyes scanning her as if to judge her worth. Reyes's voice crackled with tension. Doc? I think it's deciding if you're friend or food." Amelia remained still, her heart pounding but her expression calm. Slowly, she extended her hand. The alpha sniffed her palm, then, to her surprise, pressed its snout gently against it. "They know I'm helping," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. The alpha let out a low chuffing sound, almost like a sigh, and backed away to its cubs. Amelia exhaled in relief, her heart finally slowing. "See, Captain? They trust me." Reyes was silent for a moment before replying. "You're either a genius or completely insane, Document." "Probably both." Amelia smiled, watching as the cubs began to stir, their tiny bodies regaining strength. The adults gathered around them, their tension easing. As she packed her equipment and prepared to leave, Amelia felt a deep sense of accomplishment. She hadn't just saved the cubs, she'd proven something profound. Even the fiercest predators could recognize compassion. But the jungle was never quiet for long, and in the distance, a new sound began to rise, the unmistakable hum of approaching engines. "What's that?" Amelia asked, her calm demeanor giving way to unease. Reyes's voice was grim. "Poachers. Looks like someone else is interested in your new friends." Amelia's jaw tightened as she glanced at the Crythax pack, who were already bristling with alarm. "Captain, if they find this den." "We're on our way," Reyes interrupted. "But Doc, you need to get out of there. Now." Amelia looked at the cubs, then at their parents. The Crythax had trusted her with their most vulnerable. She couldn't abandon them now. "No," she said firmly, her voice resolute. "I'm staying." "Amelia," Reyes began, but she cut him off. "They trusted me, Captain. And I won't let them down." As the hum of engines grew louder, Amelia took a deep breath and prepared for the fight to come. The hum of the approaching engines grew louder, accompanied by the occasional crackle of plasma fire as the poachers began their descent. Dr. Amelia Grant knelt beside the den, her hand resting protectively on the soft fur of one of the Crythax cubs. Around her, the adult Crythax paced, their growls resonating like distant thunder. "Amelia, this isn't bravery, it's insanity," Captain Reyes said through her earpiece. The tension in his voice was palpable. "Those poachers are heavily armed, and you're standing in the middle of a predator den. What exactly is your plan?" Amelia glanced at the adult Crythax, their glowing yellow eyes trained on the sky where the threat loomed. "The same as theirs," she replied calmly. "Protect the cubs." Before Reyes could respond, a bright spotlight cut through the jungle canopy, sweeping across the den. The Crythax immediately crouched low, their fur bristling, their growls intensifying. Amelia grabbed her pack and rummaged through it quickly. "Captain, how far out are you?" 5 minutes. Maybe less." "Not fast enough," she muttered, pulling out a flare gun and a small device that emitted a high-pitched hum when activated. She fired the flare into the sky, the red light streaking upward before bursting, illuminating the jungle in a crimson glow. The first of the poacher's ships broke through the canopy, its sleek, insect-like design bristling with mounted weapons. A voice echoed from its loudspeakers. "Human. Step away from the den, and we'll let you live." Amelia rolled her eyes. "Yeah, because that's believable," she muttered under her breath. She turned to the Alpha Crythax, who stood at her side, its teeth bared and its massive form coiled like a spring. For a moment, their eyes met, and Amelia felt an understanding pass between them. "We protect them together," she whispered. The Alpha let out a low growl, a sound that sent shivers down her spine. Then, it leaped into the shadows, vanishing from sight. The poachers landed their ships just outside the den, their figures silhouetted against the glowing jungle. Clad in advanced armor and armed with plasma rifles, they moved with practiced precision. "Fan out," barked their leader, a stocky figure with a voice like grinding metal. "The Crythax are worth more alive, but kill the adult males if they resist. Take the cubs intact." Amelia stepped into the open, raising her hands to show she was unarmed. "You're making a mistake," she said, her voice steady despite the fear clawing at her chest. The leader laughed harshly. "The only mistake would be leaving here without those pelts. Move aside, human." "I can't do that," she replied. The poachers raised their weapons, but before they could fire, the jungle came alive. The Alpha Crythax struck first, emerging from the shadows with terrifying speed. Its claws tore through one of the poachers, his armor offering no protection against the predator's raw power. The others turned their weapons on it, but the rest of the pack attacked in unison. The jungle was filled with the sounds of growls, screams, and the crackle of plasma fire. Amelia ducked behind a tree, clutching the flare gun tightly. She watched as the Crythax moved like shadows, their sleek bodies weaving through the chaos with deadly precision. Despite their strength, the poachers' advanced weaponry gave them an edge. The Alpha roared as a plasma bolt grazed its side, leaving a smoking burn. "Captain, where the hell are you?" Amelia hissed into her earpiece. "Almost there," Reyes replied. "Hold on." One of the poachers broke off from the fight and headed toward the den. Amelia's heart pounded as she realized his intent. He was going for the cubs. Gripping the flare gun, she stepped out of cover and fired. The flare struck the poacher in the shoulder, igniting his armor. He screamed, flailing wildly as the flames consumed him. The Alpha Crythax emerged from the shadows again, standing between Amelia and the den. It growled softly, its eyes meeting hers briefly before turning back to the fight. "Looks like we're on the same side," she muttered. Just as the poachers began to regroup, the rumble of engines echoed through the jungle. The Terran dropship burst through the canopy, its mounted cannons firing precise bursts that scattered the remaining poachers. Better late than never. Amelia shouted as Reyes and his team rappelled down, their weapons blazing. The combined efforts of the Terrans and the Crythax proved too much for the poachers. Within minutes, the remaining attackers retreated, their ships vanishing into the night sky. As the jungle fell silent, Amelia turned to the Crythax pack. The Alpha stood tall, its fur matted with blood but its eyes still sharp. Slowly, it approached her, lowering its head until it was level with hers. Amelia reached out, her hand trembling slightly, and rested it on the predator's snout. The Alpha let out a soft rumble, a sound that, for the first time, wasn't a growl of warning but an expression of trust. Reyes approached cautiously, his rifle slung over his shoulder. "You're insane, you know that?" Amelia smiled faintly, not taking her eyes off the Crythax. "They trusted me with their cubs. The least I could do was return the favor." Reyes shook his head. "I don't get it. Why would something like that trust a human?" Amelia glanced at the cubs, now nestled safely in the den, and then back at the Alpha. "Because even predators recognize a protector." The Alpha stepped back, its glowing eyes fixed on her one last time before retreating into the shadows with its pack. Reyes sighed. "Remind me never to question you again." "Good call," Amelia replied, her smile widening. As the dropship ascended, Amelia looked out over the jungle. The Crythax had trusted her with their most precious treasures, and in return, she had earned their respect. It was a bond forged in danger and sealed in trust, one that would forever change how she saw humanity's role in the galaxy. The Terran dropship hummed softly as it soared above the dense jungle canopy of Vixoria. Inside, Dr. Amelia Grant sat quietly, her gaze fixed on the fading glow of the Crythax den below. Despite the chaos of the last few hours, she felt a strange calm. Her hand still tingled from where she had touched the Alpha Crythax's snout, a connection she knew was far more profound than it seemed. Across from her, Captain Reyes leaned back against the cabin wall, his helmet resting on his lap. "You realize what you just did down there was borderline miraculous," he said, breaking the silence. "Convincing a pack of apex predators to trust you, fighting off poachers, and living to tell the tale? Most people would call that luck." Amelia smirked faintly. "It wasn't luck, Captain. It was understanding. The Crythax saw me as a caretaker, not a threat. That's why they let me close." Reyes snorted. "Caretaker or not, those things could have shredded you in seconds. You're lucky they didn't change their minds halfway through." "Maybe," Amelia admitted. "But trust goes both ways. I trusted them not to harm me, and they trusted me to protect their cubs. It's a bond that transcends words or species." The dropship docked at the Terran Forward Research Base, a sprawling installation nestled on a high plateau overlooking the jungle. Scientists, soldiers, and engineers moved with purpose, their voices blending into the constant hum of machinery. As Amelia stepped onto the platform, she was immediately greeted by Dr. Marcus Lynn, the base's director of research. "Dr. Grant," Lynn said, his tone a mixture of relief and incredulity. "We were monitoring the entire situation. You had us on the edge of our seats. A Crythax pack trusting a human. It's unprecedented." "They're not mindless predators, Marcus," Amelia replied. "They're parents. Once you understand that, everything else makes sense." Lynn gestured for her to follow as they walked toward the lab. "The footage from the dropship's cameras is already spreading through our networks. Do you realize what this means for our understanding of interspecies relationships? If the Crythax trust us, it could open doors to new ways of coexisting with species we've always considered hostile." Amelia nodded. "It's more than that. The Crythax didn't just tolerate me, they relied on me. Even predators understand the value of a protector when their young are at risk." Reyes, trailing behind, chimed in. "Speaking of protectors, what's the plan for stopping those poachers from coming back? They'll be licking their wounds, but they won't stay gone for long." Lynn's expression darkened. "We're working on reinforcing the perimeter and deploying drones to monitor the area. But the poachers aren't the only threat. The Crythax habitat is shrinking due to deforestation and illegal mining operations. If we don't act soon, their species could be pushed to the brink." Amelia's jaw tightened. "We can't let that happen. They've survived for centuries in one of the most dangerous ecosystems in the galaxy. If they fall now, it'll be because of us." Later that evening, Amelia stood on the observation deck of the base, staring out at the moonlit jungle. The events of the day played over in her mind, the cub's tiny, shivering bodies, the Alpha's massive form shielding her, the way the pack had trusted her without hesitation. Reyes joined her, his boots echoing softly against the metal floor. "You're thinking about them, aren't you?" Amelia nodded. "The Crythax trusted me because I helped them. But what happens when we leave? When the poachers come back, or when their habitat is destroyed?" Reyes leaned against the railing, his gaze following hers. "They'll adapt. They're predators, after all." Amelia shook her head. "They shouldn't have to. We created this mess by encroaching on their territory. It's our responsibility to fix it." Reyes studied her for a moment, then sighed. "You've got a point. But you can't save an entire species on your own, Document." "No," she said quietly, her voice resolute. "But humanity can." The message to humanity. The footage of Amelia's interaction with the Crythax spread rapidly, not just within the research base but across Terran networks. It wasn't long before the story reached the Galactic Concordia, sparking debate among its member species. At a council meeting on Horus Prime, the event was presented as evidence of humanity's unique role in the galaxy. Envoy Calix, a longtime advocate for recognizing humanity's potential, spoke passionately about the implications. The Crythax, apex predators of a Class 12 ecosystem, entrusted their young to a human, Calix declared, his multifaceted eyes gleaming. "This is not a coincidence. It is a testament to humanity's unparalleled ability to foster trust across species." Minister Yalin, ever skeptical, leaned forward. "You suggest this is an inherent trait? That humans are uniquely equipped to bond with even the most dangerous creatures?" Calix clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. "I suggest that humanity's evolutionary history, surviving a death world and forming cooperative bonds with predators, has given them an instinct to protect. And this instinct is recognized, even by beings who see them as prey or rivals." Back on Vixoria, Amelia prepared for her next expedition into the jungle, her resolve stronger than ever. She knew the Crythax story was just the beginning. If humanity could earn the trust of predators, perhaps they could build bridges with other species as well, not through dominance, but through understanding. As she set off into the jungle once more, she thought of the Alpha Crythax and its cubs. They had taught her something profound. Trust wasn't about power. It was about responsibility. And in a galaxy fraught with division and danger, humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its resilience, it was its capacity to care. The Galactic Concordia's towering chamber was abuzz with debate. Holographic images of the Crythax den, the human protecting its cubs, and the chaotic battle with the poachers looped in the center of the room. Delegates from hundreds of species exchanged heated words, their tones ranging from awe to skepticism. At the center of it all, Envoy Calix stood resolute, his multifaceted eyes scanning the crowd. "This event is not an anomaly," he began, his voice cutting through the clamor. "It is proof of humanity's unique role in the galaxy. Predators, the apex of their ecosystem, trusted a human with their most precious treasure, their young. What more evidence do you require to understand the importance of this species?" Minister Yalin, as skeptical as ever, raised a tendril-like appendage. "And yet, Envoy, humans are also known for their destructive tendencies. For every bond they form, there is a war they wage. How do we reconcile this duality?" Calix paused, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. "The same way we reconcile it in any species. Strength and destruction often coexist. But humanity's strength lies in their ability to choose. They can wage war, yes. But they can also protect, nurture, and forge bonds even with those they once considered enemies." The room fell silent as the image of Dr. Amelia Grant touching the Alpha Crythax's snout lingered on the hologram. The jungle's response. Back on Vixoria, Amelia had returned to the jungle with a small team of scientists and engineers. Their mission, to establish a protected reserve for the Crythax, ensuring their survival against poachers and habitat destruction. The Alpha Crythax had been watching their efforts from the shadows. Each day, it would emerge briefly, standing atop a ridge as if to supervise the humans' work. Its glowing eyes would track their movements, and though it never approached, its presence was a constant reminder of the bond they had formed. "Feels like we're being judged," Captain Reyes muttered as he adjusted a sensor tower at the edge of the reserve. Amelia smiled faintly. "We are. And I don't blame them. If I were in their position, I'd want to know if the people who claimed to help were actually doing it." "Still," Reyes added, glancing at the Alpha, "it's not every day you get a predator giving you the side eye while you work." Amelia chuckled, but quickly turned serious. We owe them this, Captain. They trusted us in their moment of need. Now it's our turn to prove we were worth that trust. The galactic shift. The footage of the Crythax continued to ripple through the galaxy, stirring debates among Concordia species. Many, like the Threx Dominion, saw the event as a turning point in how humanity was perceived. Others, like the XYRR Coalition, remained wary of humanity's potential. A surprising ally emerged in the form of the Lamera Aquatic Union, a peaceful species known for their harmonious relationship with nature. Their representative, Envoy Leary, spoke at the next council meeting. Humanity's actions on Vixoria highlight something we often overlook, Leary said, her voice calm and melodious. The galaxy is not merely a place of conflict. It is also a place of connection. And humanity, for all their flaws, has shown a remarkable ability to bridge divides we thought insurmountable. The Protector's legacy. Weeks after the poachers were repelled, the protected reserve on Vixoria was complete. The Crythax pack had fully recovered, and the cubs, now stronger and more agile, ventured into the jungle under the watchful eyes of their parents. Amelia stood on a ridge overlooking the reserve, a sense of quiet satisfaction settling over her. Reyes joined her, his rifle slung casually over his shoulder. They look good, he said, nodding toward the pack. They're safe, Amelia replied. That's what matters. Reyes glanced at her, a rare moment of vulnerability in his usually stoic demeanor. You know, Doc, what you did here. It's not just about the Crythax. It's about what it says about us. About humanity. Amelia tilted her head, curious. What do you mean? Reyes shrugged. Most species see a predator and think kill or be killed. But you didn't. You saw something worth saving. And because of that, they saw the same in you. That's a kind of strength most people don't understand. Amelia smiled, her gaze returning to the pack. It's not about strength, Captain. It's about responsibility. We're the only species in the galaxy that evolved on a planet that tried to kill us at every turn. But instead of just surviving, we learned to protect. To nurture. That's what makes us different. The closing connection. As the sun set over Vixoria, the Alpha Crythax emerged from the shadows, its glowing eyes fixed on Amelia. Slowly, it approached the ridge where she stood, its movements deliberate but not threatening. Amelia held her ground, her heart pounding as the massive predator came within a few feet of her. It lowered its head, and for the second time, she reached out and placed her hand gently on its snout. The Alpha let out a soft rumble, a sound that resonated deep within her chest. Reyes, watching from a safe distance, shook his head in disbelief. You're really something, Document. Amelia turned to him, her smile soft but determined. No, Captain. We're really something. This isn't about me, it's about what humanity can do when we choose to be more than just survivors. As the Alpha Crythax retreated into the jungle, Amelia felt a deep sense of hope. The bond she had formed with the pack was more than a symbol of trust, it was a reminder of humanity's potential to protect, to connect, and to inspire. The lesson was clear, and as Amelia looked out over the reserve, she knew it was one worth sharing with the galaxy.